I'm getting a little bit confused.
But wouldn't Hamas also find ways to use those safe zones?
I don't think this is
Of
it.
course, it's entirely possible. But look, the fact
well, I'm
that
taking
Israel
a tour of
is saying they want to kill every member of Hamas does not mean that they get to kill or continuously displace.
Okay, what road is this?
1 million Palestinians who live in Gaza.
Okay.
Of course, any accommodation can be exploited by Hamas. The fact is, you have these.
Okay, here's where I was. Okay, it's right here.
Have a right to live.
I mean, the limited options.
See, I'm misinterpreting these signs.
You're starting to leave us
It's
with
saying
a
to
picture
turn here. I was
that
thinking it was the next
Palestinian
block.
civilians will just be living in the ruins of Gaza
Right
when
here.
this is over. I mean, do you see any other scenario?
No, I don't. I think, well, there is another scenario, which is for Israel to change course and to decide to limit what it does, use special forces, try to basically assassinate all the key people they think were involved in October 7th, to destroy, the infrastructure they think they need to destroy as quickly as possible, as cleanly as possible, and get out as quickly as possible. Now that basically hands Hamas a victory, but it's a Pyrrhic victory, because Hamas would crawl out of the rubble and declare victory and all of that. What Hamas wants is for Israel to stay in Gaza so that Hamas can organize over the long run an insurgency, and then they can say to the Palestinians, we are the national movement, we are fighting the occupation over control of Palestinian land every day in Gaza. This whole war that Hamas has ginned up is a new effort to make progress in the battle to take over
16 miles to Ontario
and to take over the PLO with its international diplomatic presence, its UN non-member observer state status, which is worth its weight in gold, and 130 embassies around the world. This is the gem that Hamas is trying to wrest out away from Fatah and the secular nationalists in the West Bank. And I think they want to use an insurgency against Israeli soldiers to do that at long last.
Hussein Ibish is a senior resident scholar at the Arab Gulf States Institute in Washington. We reached him today in Abu Dhabi. Hussein, big thanks. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Israeli soldiers have found the body of another hostage taken by Hamas last month. The discovery is going to add pressure on the Israeli government to rescue the nearly 240 people being held captive. Just ahead on the show, reporting from Israel on families desperately fighting to get their loved ones back. You can find all of our coverage on the Israel-Gaza war online at theworld.org. You're listening to The World.
I'm Jeremy Hobson. With a possible government shutdown just days away, is bipartisanship still possible? That's our question on the next episode of The Middle. We'll hear from the Congressional Problem Solvers Caucus and take your calls at 844-4MIDDLE. You can leave a message or join us live next time on The Middle with Jeremy Hobson.
Tonight at 8 on the Ideas Network.
Not coming in now.
Mourns the death of a prominent judge.
In a couple of years, Osiel became one of the most famous LGBTIQ plus people in the country.
Still ahead this hour, the groundbreaking legacy of Osiel Baina, who was found dead in their home earlier this week. I'm Marco Werman. That and the latest signals around press freedom in Russia, they're not good. Ahead on The World.
Support for The World comes from Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one management
We don't have
software
press
that
freedom
enhances
here
the efficiency
either.
of your entire business from anywhere in the world. More
In
information
fact, in
at
Europe, they'll
odoo.com
arrest you for
/the
saying
world.
certain things.
That's odoo.com/the world. And by Betterment, the automated investing platform that makes it easy to be invested for the long term. More information is available at betterment.com. That's BETTERMENT.
Yeah, he's going to turn. He was looking for this road.
I'm Marco Werman. You're with The World. We're a co-production of GBH Boston and PRX.
He knew he had to turn, and he was going slow so he wouldn't miss his turn.
In Gaza, the Israeli Defense Forces say they recovered the remains of Judith Weiss in a building near the Al-Shifa hospital. No cause of death has been released. Weiss was 65 and undergoing treatment for breast cancer. The news of her death will likely put even more pressure on negotiators trying to free the hostages taken by Hamas last month. A deal which appears close would involve Palestinian militants releasing a number of women and children they hold in Gaza in exchange for Palestinian women and children currently in Israeli jails. A humanitarian ceasefire for 3 to 5 days is also on the table. So far, any agreement between Israel and Hamas has been difficult to reach. From Jerusalem, the world's Matthew Bell reports that the absence of results is causing anguish for the hostages' families and the country. Every night for the last 40 nights, Yoav Engel has gone to bed thinking about one thing. His 17-year-old son, Ophir, is being held captive in Gaza by Hamas.
I see the situation, it's like 0 or 1. If Ophir is my son there, in Gaza somewhere, or is he home?
I'm not going to be able to stay at the park very long, but I want to go to the park.
Nothing else matter, yes.
Ophir is a high school
This is a little bit.
basketball player with
You
a
don't
easy
want to drive
smile
fast
and a
through
mouth
here.
full of braces. He lives here with his family in a kibbutz on the south side of Jerusalem. He was taken along with around 240 others during the deadly Hamas attack on October 7th. Ophir just happened to be visiting his girlfriend in the south that morning. For Yoav, his dad, what's playing out now is not a complicated situation.
I'm not a military man, I'm not a politician, I'm not nothing. I'm just a citizen in my country, you know. My kid kidnapped from house.
Yeah, the children that are going to be born, that are being born now, are going to work for peace. They're going to say, we don't want any more of this. And as they grow up, they're going to be in positions in society, and they're just going to vote no. These older farts, you know, they might be sticks in the mud for a while, but they'll eventually die off because they don't know anything better. And they say, oh, we got to preserve our heritage, stand for our rights. But the kids are not going to go along with it. They're not going along with it now. At one time, this was in Europe. The Catholics versus the Protestants, and France versus Germany. Now they get along. And this is going to be the case in the Middle East in another 20 years. People, it'll be like, you won't even remember that they were at odds. They won't be able to imagine it. They'll know it's in history, but they won't be able to imagine it ever happening again. But one thing that is bad is that Germany has tanks in Russia. They're making the same mistake, but I think it'll pass. I don't think the people really approve of it. I think back in World War II, I think the people approved of it. They voted for it. They wanted it. Now it's happening, and they don't really like it. I wonder if they're scared over there. So, you know, Kryan says, don't be afraid, because that's what they want you to be. But I wonder if they are trying to make the people think that maybe Russia will invade Germany or Poland, which, I don't know, maybe the people aren't falling for it. I mean, I just don't see that. I'm not watching the media, though. They're going to attack Poland, they're going to take it. I don't think they can do it anyways if they wanted. Yeah, we should have left maybe an hour earlier, but it's gonna get dark in another few hours. Our last day in the 60s, I think. There's some Amish. That's how they live.